О, все, я
Только он,
начал.
блядь, мне, наверное, звук передавать не будет сейчас.
Я начал.
Да пофиг.
Сейчас наименьшая задержка стоит. Сейчас ссылку скину еще раз.
А где писание донаты?
Бля, мужички, ну не знаю, сейчас должно быть все нормально, держите. Вроде,
Хуй знает.
вроде норм.
Максим Львов.
Так, а где Ваня? А, вижу Ваню. Так, сейчас теперь надо попробовать игру запустить.
Ну-ка, а ты сейчас что делаешь?
Блядь, сейчас просто курсорчиком вожу по ОБСу.
Ну-ка, вот сейчас сверни ОБС.
Свернул.
Ну, все равно задержка такая нормальная.
Ну сейчас.
Ты сейчас что вводишь курсором? Вот сейчас свернул.
Ну нормально, это секунд 10, блядь, прошло.
Ну пойдет, ладно.
Это просто тебе так кажется, потому что я тут сижу. Я буду на стриме, будет вообще нормально. Вот. Камеру уж видно, да, мою? Все, заебись.
Да, камера есть.
Заебись. Вроде заебись. Че, игру запускаю?
Меня вообще слышно или что у меня с микрофоном?
Да тебя
Да
слышно.
ты только что
Теперь да.
сейчас слышно, да.
Я говорю, Лёнь, чуть-чуть вебку, наверное, растяни, прям чуть.
Да зачем? Нормально, типа.
Да?
А ну там ничего не...
Я говорил, чуть-чуть растяны.
Думаете? Думаете? Мне просто без разницы.
Ну сделай больше, что.
Да, мне кажется, чуть.
Ну вот сделал, сейчас скажете как.
Во, нормально.
Ну, у тебя уже видно, Максим?
Да? У меня
У меня он
сразу.
только сейчас растянул. Странно.
Нет, у меня
Ну,
прям тут же.
Значит, Ром, значит,
Странно.
что-то у тебя.
Да, значит у меня задержка. Ебаный Ростелеком, здравствуйте. Нет, Ваня еще, скорее всего, не здесь. Он замут полностью, он не слышит и ни голоса нет.
Ладно, я тогда пока игру запускаю, чисто в главном меню буду. Или, блядь, без Карповича лучше не
А,
знаю.
у меня еще, знаешь, почему возможно задержка? Я Таня еще экран показываю, типа, в Дискорде, поэтому у меня, наверное,
Плюс у тебя еще вебка включена.
кстати, да.
Алло, все, тогда я ливаю с Дискорда и запускаю.
Лёнь, набери меня сейчас в личку.
Хорошо.
Все, парни, все на... И не парни, все на стрим, давайте.
Давай. Алло,
Выруби микро в ОБС и передачу звуков,
сейчас,
чтобы не
подожди,
слышали разговор.
подожди.
Иногда чат все-таки чекай, но побольше Все, давайте, счастливо.
Давай. Так, блядь, мужики. Сейчас пробую запустить игру. Играть. Сейчас сразу захват экрана уберу, чтобы на игру было видно. Бля, что-то страхово. Галактик кафе, блядь. Сейчас. Видно игру, вы мне скажите? А, игру не видно, сейчас порешаем. Сейчас. Сейчас что-нибудь попробуем. Очень странно. Как его настроить, блять, эту ебаную хуету? Уже жопа горит, блять. Конкретно, блять, жопа подгорает, нахуй. Ее должно быть видно, понимаете, нахуй. По идее, ее должно быть видно. А ее, блин, не видно. Вот экран видно каким-то хуем. Экран видно вообще нормально. А игру нет. А, блять, я долбоеб. Секунду. Я ж не указал. Блять, сори. Сейчас все будет, пацаны. Сейчас все будет. Тут же ж надо, блять, как-то игру указать. Я вот только не помню, где это, блять. Сейчас сделаем, парни. Сейчас сделаем. Как тут указать игру? Ебаный ОБС, я же вообще в нем не шарю, нахуй. Сцена? Нет, не сцена. Как тут, блядь? Тут же ж как-то можно указать конкретную игру. Кто подскажет? Сейчас, подождите. Как игру указать?
Зайди в захват экрана, там у тебя не любое полноэкранное приложение, а тебе нужно конкретный источник и указать игру.
Не зайди в захват экрана, там у тебя не...
Нет, у тебя там захват окна должен быть, а не захват экрана. Ты что там добавлял?
А тебе нужно конкретный источник.
Вот захват игры, да, захват игры.
Вот смотри, я удалю, еще раз нажимаю на плюсик, да?
Ну да.
Захват игры нажимать или захват экрана, блядь?
Да, захват игры тебе нужен.
Так, вот тут создать новый, добавить существующий, сделать источник видимым. Это все, что здесь есть.
Ну вот, создавай, в настройках там сделай сейчас.
Так вот, смотри, тут просто...
Вот, и захват... Нет, у тебя вон захват любого, нет, выше, самый высокий. Самый первый параметр, выбери его.
Захват любого
Захват отдельного
полноэкранного.
окна.
Я понял, все.
И там источник укажи просто.
Вы,
Всё.
я обожаю любые стримы, это вот часто страхом говорят.
Все, спасибо, я разобрался.
И слышь, подожди, не уходи. Если у тебя не будет захватываться игра в полном... все, захват
Всё.
пошел, нормально.
Все нормально?
Да, видно все.
Все, давайте. Спасибо большое.
А вебка?
Вебка, сейчас все сделаю, сейчас. Вот так,
Поверх всего просто поставь.
Вот, все. Должно быть нормально. Все, пацаны, я погнал, давайте. Все, блядь. Так, еще раз. Все, погнали. Начинаю. Бля. Пиздец. Поехали. Загрузка идет. Надо пепельницу там, блядь, недалеко убирать, нахуй, на всякий случай. Потому что я таких кирпичей ключей, блядь, наложу. Ну его нахуй потом, блядь. Так. Темно. Да, потому что экран черный, блядь. Игра грузится на черном экране.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Она на английском.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427.
Она, подождите. Субтитры включить. Полный, блядь, только субтитры. Полные комментарии. Окей, все. А, я понял. Сейчас сделаем. А можно заново как-то начать? О,
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
вам читать не надо?
Stanley worked for a
Same
company
with
in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Ебать сенса, вы шо ебанулись? Блять, не дай бог скримеры
All of his
вылезут.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Блять, страшно.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
А, нихуя, так я могу в дверь. Ладно.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Блять, и что тут делать? А,
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was
то
2845.
есть мне надо неправильный ввести. Оп. Не, я хочу правильный.
to, yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Бля, и загрузка. Не бывает. Так, ребята, ну пока прикольно, мне нравится.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Может, на нахуй туда идти?
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Бля, а красиво? Красиво ведь.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Блять, муха ебаная. Нахуй съебись отсюда.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad
Нихуя.
or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in...
Ссылка на донат где? Блять, сейчас все сделаю. Сейчас я все сделаю, мужики. Какого хуя, слышите, блядь? Сейчас, пацаны. Сейчас. Бля, простите. Я забыл совсем это сделать. Сейчас найдем. Бля. Сука. Короче, я не знаю. Я ее скинул вот сюда в чат. Я просто хуй знает, как ее прикрепить в описании. Да вообще похуй на эту ссылку на донат, блядь. Я не знаю, давайте проиграть. Ссылка на донат, блядь. Где она нахуй? О, сейчас. Во. Вот так вот должно быть. Ну, давайте проверим. Должна появиться ссылка. По крайней мере, блядь. Мне так кажется. А, ну, или это, блядь, это то вообще? Сейчас. Да, это ли вообще ссылка? Ебать мой рот. Я просто, бля, мужики, забыл нахуй, как все это делать. Ладно, все, играем. Сори. Пизду его. Что это за хуйня, блядь? Мужички. Блядь, ну нахуя вы мне про эту ссылку сказали? Ну ебать мой рот. У меня просто, блядь, у меня игра не разворачивается. Нахуя вы мне про эту ссылку сказали? Вы чё, бля, прикалываетесь нахуй? Она вон, блядь, она не разворачивается. Все.
Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life, for he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Ёбаный рот. Так, ну вроде идем.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Бля, я не хочу ее останавливать. Мне интересно нахуй.
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did
Нахуй
you?
ее останавливать.
After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're
Сопли
going,
ебала.
what all this means. I barely know where to start.
Какую-то хуйню натворил, блядь, надо
What's
было,
that?
сука, быть
You'd like to know where
видимым.
your co-workers are. A moment of solace before you're obliterated.
Что делать,
All right,
блядь?
I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you
Я не
exactly what
хочу
happened to them.
умирать.
I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though. This version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go.
Нихуя не
But I'm
понятно.
sure whatever I come up with on the next go around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees.
Блять, пидорас.
Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved?
Все,
Do
все,
you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment.
Где
But
5?
here's a spoiler for
Я
you.
уже забыл.
That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving
Где
along.
цифра 5?
It's just
вон она.
seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made
На,
humble.
изи, изи.
This is
Все,
not a challenge.
Всё.
It's a tragedy.
Всё, я же
You
нажал.
wanted to control this world, that's fine.
Все
But I'm
5
going to
цифр.
destroy it first.
Все
so
5 цифр
you
нажал.
can't.
Что делать?
Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No end.
Что это?
Just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life? Or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me. All a part of the joke.
Бля, пойдём.
And believe me, I
Что
will be
такое?
laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever after.
Все, конец игры. И чё? Бля, и чё, типа, в чем прикол? Я нихуя не понимаю, блядь. Блядь, она вроде как интересная, но нихуя непонятно. Вы чё, вы прикалываетесь нахуй?
All of his co-workers were gone.
Всё
What did it mean?
сначала, блядь.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Круто.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open
Пошёл
doors,
нахуй.
this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a... But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Пошел в пизду.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every
Я, блядь,
decision by
независимый, бля,
yourself.
молодой человек,
I'm not
нахуй.
asking for me, I'm asking for
Потыкать, мне похуй, блядь.
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Бля.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you...
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha! Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Бля, ну я хочу зайти. Блядь, я реально хочу зайти, нахуй. Блядь, что делать, нахуй? Пиздец, ну, блядь, а там что, блядь, там... Блядь, пацаны реально хуй его знает, что делать. Сука, прыгай. Он на нем прыгается, блядь. Что думаете? Так, ладно, это мой выбор, Сделал плавочки сюда, свои плавочки. Раз, два, три, плавка, будешь ты. Все, пошлите.
Sorry, but you're in my story now.
Бля, ну, может ты нахуй пойдешь, я эту хуйню разобью. Я вот сюда пойду, обману тебя. Как тут с ноги уебать? Пролезь, может, куда-нибудь. Ладно.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Доброе утро, работник. 400. Нажмите P на клавиатуре.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Бля, если я нажму не ту клавишу, а мне скример
Look at
выдастся.
him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
Я не выбрал такую жизнь, блядь. Я нажму Shift. А, я нихуя другого нажать не могу.
But in his
Потом.
in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Пожалуйста, нажмите 1, чтобы смотреть ТВ.
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Я не нажму. Я, блядь, не нажму нихуя. Мне похуй. Я деньги заплатил. Нихуя больше нельзя. Блядь, ну хоть что-то можно сделать, блядь. Ладно,
It
жму.
was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Я не буду играть, педрила ебаная. Я не люблю свою жену, блядь. Я тебя не люблю, нахуй. Не люблю, блядь. Как мне съебаться отсюда? Я, блядь, нахуй. Опа, блядь, сьюспика нахуй по головам, блядь, на мираже. Ну дайте мне, блядь, съебаться отсюда. Хоть что-нибудь сделать. Это, бля, это нереально, нахуй.
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he
Ёпта.
gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
Чтобы пойти спать. Сейчас кровать исчезнет.
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Блять, вы чё гоните? Как он это делает? Блять, ебать, он психолог. Теперь я хочу нажать кнопку, блять. Блять. Пацаны, я нажму.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's
Педрила.
electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Блять, я нихуя не буду нажимать. На самом деле я не могу нихуя не нажать. Бля, ладно, я нажму. А, нолик.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him.
Всё
I'm
с-
compelled to.
Все
I must.
сначала.
Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again,
Пожалуйста,
and
умрите.
Stanley pushed a button.
Пошел ты нахуй. Блять, загрузка. Блять, вы чё гоните нахуй? Она бы... Пидорасы.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his
Хорошо,
left.
хорошо, блядь, хорошо, нахуй. Меня заставляют быть. Какие тут нахуй концовки, бля? Какой выбор, бля? Если все приводит, блядь, вот кто... А вот я выйду, блядь, отсюда. Я, бля, выйду отсюда. Бля, пиздец. Пиздец, блядь. Это нереально, бля. Нахуй, блядь.
Yet there was not a single person
Ну
here
тут
either.
и никого и не
Feeling
было.
a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Я пойду
Coming
вниз.
to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's
Я
office.
хочу вниз пойти, блядь, но я не хочу заново начинать, ёбаный в рот. Сука, пиздец, блядь, я пойду вниз нахуй, мне похуй.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course,
Что делать, блядь?
how could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Что-то в этом
This is
есть.
the story of a woman named Mariella.
Новая
Mariella woke up on
история.
a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. and then she turned and ran.
Я нихуя пока не понимаю, бля. Вообще нихуя не понятно. Я не могу, блядь.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a
Что
memo.
тут думать? В смысле сопротивляйся? Он, блядь, он заставляет. Другого выбора нет, иначе я буду заново начинать. Он заставляет меня делать так, как он хочет. А как по-другому делать, блядь? Когда я сначала начинаю. Играй как ты хочешь, хорошо.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Нихуя. Нихуя себе. Нихуя себе, смотрите. Блять, это просто туалет. Тут же можно. Because the boss... Потому что босс знает... Что, блядь, что? Блядь. Я пойду обратно. Он мне дает выбор. Я хочу вот сюда. Не дай бог, я опять буду ходить. Вот, блядь.
But Stanley just couldn't do it.
Блядь, все
He considered the
сначала.
possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work
Вот сюда,
hours.
вот сюда,
He
вот
might
сюда.
be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished.
Нет,
His
нет,
boss
только
would
не
think he was
сюда.
crazy. And then
Пожалуйста.
something occurred to Stanley. Maybe,
Пожалуйста.
he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as
Блядь,
Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations.
Ребята.
For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did
Ребят.
doors close automatically behind him wherever he went?
ребята, это
And for
какой-то
that matter,
пиздец.
these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it.
Блядь, ну она же...
I'm dreaming! He yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above
У меня
the
такого не
ground.
было.
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical star field,
было.
and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't
Давайте так, блять, если я делаю не по его выбору, то я возвращаюсь на начало.
asked himself sooner.
Понимаете?
Why is there a voice in my
И
head
от этого
dictating
я уверен,
everything
что
that I'm
вам
doing
не
and
особо
thinking?
интересно смотреть.
Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who
Ну,
found it
интересно
particularly
смотреть на то,
strange.
что
I'm
происходит
dreaming about a
циклично,
voice
блядь. Я от этого с ума
describing me,
схожу.
thinking about how
Я
it's
реально
describing my
долбоебом сейчас
thoughts,
стану.
he thought. And while he thought it all very odd,
Я
and
хочу
wondered if
сюда.
this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this
Делай
was
все
not a dream.
наоборот.
How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself? Believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for
А
himself?
в чем прикол?
Stanley is as awake right now
Я же так
as
делаю
he's
всё
ever been in
наоборот.
his life.
Вот если просто
Now,
встать на
hearing the
месте,
voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all,
просто
he knew for
встать на месте.
certain, beyond a
Возможен
doubt,
такой
that this
вариант в
was
этой
in
игре?
fact a dream.
Просто встать на
Did the
месте.
voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice
так
explain all
нельзя.
that?
Ты
This
не
voice was a
знаешь,
part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control,
Я управляю.
that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his
Блять,
back,
опять все
the
заново.
fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please. It's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I
Я не
want is my
понимаю, как в
life
этой игре
exactly the
действовать.
way it's always been. My life is normal.
Просто непонятно.
I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Окей. Блять, ебаный его рот.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Ебаный его рот, нахуй.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Блять, это же было.
Mariella woke up on a day like any
Как это
other.
пропустить? Как это пропустить,
She
блядь?
rose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for
Покажи мне
just a
пистолет,
few
пожалуйста,
brief
делай все
moments,
наоборот
she
и
considered
все.
the strange
Так,
man.
а что делать
was
наоборот? Вот
obviously crazy.
наоборот можно
This
пойти
much she
обратно,
knew.
а двери закрыты,
Everyone knows
блядь.
what
Нихуя
crazy
нельзя
people
делать
look like.
наоборот.
And in
блядь,
that
нихуя
moment, she
нельзя
thought to
делать,
herself
блядь.
how lucky she was to be normal.
Нихуя.
I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is
Ну,
real
читаешь.
and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose
Бля,
impressions
ну,
of her
вам
would
хоть
affect
интересно
her
это
career,
смотреть, я
and
хуй
by
его знаю.
extension, the rest of her life.
Хуй его знает.
She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Ладно, я нихуя не буду делать, по его мнению. Блять, пошел он нахуй. А тогда вопрос, а что будет, если делать, по его мнению, блять? Вот, что тогда будет? Вот, блять, вот тут нихуя нельзя сделать. Я могу как-то начать печатать? Не повторять то, что ты делал до этого. Кстати, дверь закрылась. Я нажал на клаву, и дверь закрылась. Поняли? Я на какую-то кнопку нажал, и дверь нахуй закрылась. Она же открыта была. Я хочу напечатать что-нибудь. Что делать, блин? Можно как-то сесть. 427. 427. Нихуя. Вот этого вот не было. Вот это, ну согласитесь, этого не было нахуй. Блять, нихуя непонятно, я вам отвечаю. Может... Ебать мой рот. Бля, можно в управление зайду? Нихуя не сказано, 0 подсказок. 0 подсказок, блядь. Так, камеру чуть пониже я смотрю. Начни сначала. Начал сначала.
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was.
Давай в правую дверь. Хорошо, хорошо. Пойдемте в правую дверь. Базар ноль.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room. What a beautiful room. What a gorgeous, gorgeous room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Первая дверь слева. Но я не пойду. Я понял, что надо сделать сейчас.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Так, смотрите.
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Блять. Нихуя не понимаю.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Я теперь
The
понял,
lounge
почему
was
папа еще мне
sublime,
полчаса
a work of
поиграл.
art. What was it about this room that called so deeply and so personally to Stanley?
Так, а что меня
Its
глубоко
grace,
тронуло?
its subtle charm? No. Stanley knew it was something deeper, something darker.
Так. Тут что-то есть, он мне на водочку дал какую-то.
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Блять. Ебаная хуета.
At this point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and reflected poorly on his overall
О,
personality.
надо просто в этой
It's
комнате
possible
находиться.
that this is why everyone
Потому
left.
что я его заебывать начинаю. Пацаны, тупо бегаем нахуй, смотрим, блядь. Цвета радуги нахуй. Пошел отсюда нахуй.
Stanley sat around waiting for more dialogue, but when a long time had passed and there was no more, he decided that the game was trying to send him a message.
Пошел нахуй. Тупо пошел. Что это? Что это? Что это такое синее? Что это за синее пятно, блядь? Пацаны, я не хочу туда идти. Опа. Бля. Блять, извините меня, но я нихуя не понимаю. Ладно, в пизду.
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Карта, надо найти карту. А что если так сделать? Оп. Оп.
Oh, well, look who's got cold feet. Sorry to break it to you, Stanley, but that lift isn't coming back. You'd best either get comfortable right here on this platform, or test your luck by jumping to the floor below. You know what? Looking at it now, it's not that far to the bottom floor. I bet you can make it.
Пошел нахуй.
Come on. I'm sure you'll survive the jump. Don't tell me you're scared. That's not the Stanley I know. Do it! Do it! Do it! Do it! Do it! Do it! Do it!
Я не прыгну. Он вернется, он меня наебал. Он вернется, надо как-то его вызвать. Сейчас. Так. Это же ебало вернется, да? А если посмотреть, то куда спрыгнуть, чтобы не сдохнуть? Но я же не хочу. Я не хочу прыгать. Базарю прыгать не хочу. А опять все заново начать? Ладно, блядь. Что делать, пацаны, как вы думаете? Тупо вот ваше мнение. Сюда же как-то можно пройти, да? Только нужна карта. Теперь надо подумать, где взять эту ебаную карту. Где она могла лежать? Что прыгать, блядь? А вот туда на машинку.
Whoops. Looks like I was wrong. How clumsy of me. How wonderful. Stanley was alone. Finally. This is great, he thought to himself. This is what I've wanted all along. I got what I wanted. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Слушайте, пацаны, а реально что будет, если просто, бля, ему потакать? Что будет, нахуй? Почему кружки разлиты? В этом же должен быть, оп, какой-то... Бля, так... Какой-то смысл в этом же должен быть, да?
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference,
Ладно, не влияло.
nor did it advance the story in any way.
Я понял одно. Если пойти тоже в дверь направо...
Stanley came to a set of two
Okay.
open doors. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Тут нихуя нету. Ебать. 4Б9. Мужики.
Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first time understood, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Открывайся нахуй. Оп. Оп.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Так. Мужики. Мужики. Тут может карта какая-нибудь есть. Все, КГ. Ну, блядь, ну мне... О, я понял. Я понял.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong
Really
foot
funny.
here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in
Блядь,
someone
я
else
понял,
can be
щас.
difficult, but the fact
Щас,
is that
щас.
the story has been about
Щас.
nothing but you all this time.
Сейчас,
There's
сейчас.
someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. What?
Опа.
Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to
Чё, чё?
convince you of this,
Спрыгни на
but I
мостик.
really
А, да.
do want to help you,
Всё, я
to
уже
show you
понял.
something beautiful.
Я сам
Look,
догадался.
let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Я пошел нахуй. Обманул пидораса ебаного. О, 2Б3, ебать, это уже те двери, на которые я смотрел через стекло.
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Чё, пацаны, погнали? Погнали нахуй. А он сказал в красную или в синюю, я уже забыл. А, он сказал в красную.
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
Пошел
I
нахуй.
still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
Пидрила ебаная, блядь. Я в синюю пойду.
All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you.
Та-дам, I'll be bound, долбоеба. Та-дам-та-та-да-пам.
You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted?
Блядь, я
Was it
это-
worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
Пошел нахуй, вправо был, бля. Нахуй, поехали.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
please rate your experience от 1 до... Бля. Так, пацаны. Бля. Сколько Карпович сегодня дал киллов? Бля, -4 дал. Давайте.
Okay, so we're getting somewhere. Clearly there's something here that speaks to you. If I can be honest here, I really don't have any idea where I'm going with this. This whole third door thing was just a stab in the dark.
Что?
But I guess you're into it, so let's keep this party train rolling. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Блять, вот хуй его знает. Это ебать как интересно стало, что он мне там все наговорил. Бля, ну ты куда? Куда? Блять, ну пошлите в эту.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up.
Блять.
In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
Меня бесит этот звук. Блять, блять. Пошел нахуй отсюда.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out, I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes. This seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
Хуй его знает, что происходит.
Well,
Что?
Stanley, is this any better? At last, the one thing you've always desired. A game I had absolutely nothing to do with.
Блять,
Is it
я
enough?
ненавижу
Tell me that,
Майнкрафт.
Stanley.
Блять,
Will
я...
it ever be enough? Well, I'll say this. I'm done making things for you. From now on, I will only create to fulfill a greater
говорите?
artistic purpose. Watch this, Stanley. I'm going to build a house.
Сука. Сука.
This will go here. No, here. And then... Let's see, what does it need? Yes, of course. And just to finish it all off, yes, it's complete. I made this, Stanley. Look at it. Gaze upon my work of art and feel ashamed at your own inadequacy.
Что это за хуйта?
But you've only seen it from the outside. You've only gotten half the experience. Please, step inside and make yourself comfortable.
Пошел ты нахуй. Как тут блоки ломать? А у меня выбора нет. Но у меня вот тут выбора нету.
Isn't it grand? Isn't it perfect? It could only be better if... Wait, that's it. We must rebuild it out of diamond. Diamond everything. Yes, yes, yes. Come along, Stanley. We have to go mining.
Я хочу, блядь, отсюда съебаться. Из этого Майнкрафта ебаного.
Oh my, it looks like it's going to get a bit dark. Have you brought a light?
Бля, я даже прыгать не могу. Приколяете? Даже прыгать нельзя.
Oh, no, 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 no. This is far more open-ended than I had in mind. I'm looking for something more narrow and linear. Something that makes you feel utterly irrelevant. This won't do at all. 1 out of 5. Even the diamonds couldn't save this one. Okay, new game.
Блять, я обосрался. Там кто-то жужжал.
Yes! I don't even know what this game is, but I love it. You, trapped in a glass box with no way out, listening to me talk. Oh, it's inspired. I couldn't have done it any better myself. What is this game even supposed to be? I can't figure it out. Okay, now I'm curious. Let's go find out what the hell this is. Oh, it's a puzzle. Critical thinking, Stanley. Your forte. Genius.
А где куб? А куда я куб дел? А куда куб делся? А, что? Пацаны. Бля, вы чё рофлите? А, я понял. Упади на меня, хуета. Чё делать? А чё делать-то, блядь? Блядь, чё делать? Сорокин, что? Только не говорите, что это баг. Умоляю вас, блядь, по-братски. Пожалуйста, Сорокин. Что, пожалуйста, блядь, я не понимаю, что делать. Я хочу туда пройти. Блядь. Да ну нет. Да ну... Блядь. Я не хочу в нее всю ночь играть. Пацаны. Она...
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go any way except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
Блядь.
Just a step through this door, Stanley thought to himself, that's all I need. If I can make it through this door, I can make it through them all.
За что я трачу свое время?
When Stanley came to a set of two open
Я не
doors,
хочу
he
туда,
entered the
блядь.
door on
Я
his
уже
left.
хочу все сделать, как он, блядь, просит, нахуй. И пойти, блядь, в пизду. Отсюда, блядь. Блядь, ну сука. Все, пацаны, я заебусь. Ну вас нахуй с этими, блядь, наоборот, реально. Я, блядь, сдаюсь, нахуй.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find... Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Какой, блядь, New Age Music, нахуй? Мудила, ебаная, блядь.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Сука, это такая ебанутая игра, блядь, отвечаю. Такая конченая игра, блядь. От чего тут можно охуеть? Все ж, вот, все, что пока это
Stanley walked straight
делает,
ahead through the large door that read
Это
Mind
является-
Control Facility.
блядь. Блядь, вот что там будет, нахуй. Но я понимаю, что если я туда пойду, блядь, то, сука, я заново начну.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death. As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture.
О,
He doesn't know the
просто
real
присесть
story,
надо.
trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. So he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Ай, блядь.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly. And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Нихуя себе. Ебать, тут светло. Офис. Две двери. Бля, что происходит нахуй? Бля, я здесь не был. А это все, это конец, да? Я здесь был. Я ж... 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. А, бля, в пизду, это бесконечно. Блять, где я нахуй?
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time
Блядь, нет. Только не сначала. Я умоляю. Блядь, я прошу, нахуй. Только, блядь, не сначала. Нахуй. Почему черный экран, блядь? Блядь, что происходит в этой ебали? Парни, что делать? Что делать? У меня нихуя не происходит. Да как? Почему заново? Почему заново? Я не хочу заново. Я не хочу, говорю, не хочу заново. Нет, нет, я...
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Okay, I think we all know the drill by now. Blah, blah, blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes some buttons. Oh, hey, look, it's a new passageway. Pure surprise.
А этого не было, это прикольно.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Я не понимаю, в чем прикол этого игры. Почему это может нравиться, блин. Она все нервы выедает наглухо.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Это пизда. Базарю.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Бля, у меня яйца чешется. Сейчас почешу. Ай, пойдем дальше.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery... blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, Even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking,
Просто быстрее,
but
блядь.
happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Нет, блядь! Нет! Ребята, я не... Блядь. Блядь. Я не могу больше эту музыку слушать. Мне реально, бля, плохо, нахуй. Плохо, пиздец, блядь. Пиздец, как я в эту хуйню играю. Сорокин, ты лучший. Вы, блядь, вообще меня выдрочить решили этой игрой. Ну, блядь. Ну чё это, блядь, такое, нахуй?
Wait, Stanley thought to himself. Am I sure that the orders stopped coming in? How is that possible?
Бля, он...
They never stopped. Surely I was mistaken.
Блядь, знаете, что хочу?
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Да иди ты нахуй,
This was
слышишь?
not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Спокойной ночи,
Stanley
Макс.
felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach. But
Спокойной
eager
ночи,
to get back to
братанчик,
business,
спокойной ночи.
Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Бля, я тут еще не
And so
был.
he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
А, блядь.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
А этого-то не было, блядь, слышите? Блядь, а этого не было?
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished.
Всё сначала.
His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment.
Блядь, я
no
не знаю,
reason at all.
зачем. Всё,
None of
нахуй, нахуй, блядь. О, сука. О, блядь. Ух ты ж, ёбаный ты в рот. У меня один вопрос. Нахуй я в это играл? Мне просто интересно, нахуй я в это играл, блядь. Блядь. Ванечка,
It made any
можно, бля, выйду нахуй? Ой, ты ж ебаный рот. Ах ты ж, блядь. Ой, блядь. Охуёвый мем, не смешно. Сейчас стрим отрубить, да? Или нет? Все, ребята, давайте спокойной ночи. Ебать. Вынос мозга нахуй просто в щип.